Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Charlie. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing y'all how to make my delicious homemade strawberry cobbler from scratch. Now, it consists of a filling which is made with fresh strawberries and a top and bottom crust. It can be served warm or cold. This recipe calls for about 12 servings. Absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all what you'll need to make your homemade strawberry cobbler. Let's get started with our ingredients. You'll need 3 pounds of fresh strawberries, 1 large lemon, 1 large egg, all-purpose flour, sugar, salt, cornstarch, unsalted butter cold, butter-flavored vegetable shortening cold, vanilla extract, and butter extract. Now, if you don't have the butter extract, you can omit it from the recipe. And to bake your cobbler, you will need a regular standard 9 by 13 inch glass or metal pan. You will also need a food processor, a rolling pin, and a mesh strainer. And there you have it. Alrighty, let's get straight to it. So let's get started with making a crust. So in the food processor, I'm gonna add 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/3 cup of sugar, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna pulse this about 4 times. Next, I'm gonna add 9 tablespoons of unsalted butter, cold. And as you can see, I cubed the butter. And to that, I'm gonna add 9 tablespoons of butter flavored vegetable shortening, cold. Now you're going to pulse this for about 20 times or until that butter and shortening has been cut into the flour. Alright, now I transferred my flour, butter, and shortening mixture into this large bowl. I'm going to add 2/3 cup of cold water, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/2 teaspoon of butter extract. Now remember, the butter extract is optional. If you don't have it, you can omit it from the recipe. Now I'm going to just go ahead and give this a quick stir. Now I'm going to stir this until the mixture starts to come together. And as the mixture starts to come together, you just take your hands and just form it into a dough. It might be slightly sticky at first, but after a while it'll start to come together. Alright, looks good. Now I'm going to just place this into my refrigerator for about 30 minutes. So I added my fresh strawberries into this mesh strainer. And I'm just going to rinse the strawberries off with cold water. I'm going to take the strawberries and I'm just going to cut the stem off. And after that, I'm going to just quarter it. Just like that. Alright, here I have a large lemon. I'm going to just take it and cut it in half. This lemon, did let it come to room temperature though. Make sure it's at room temperature. Alright, I placed my strawberry pieces into this large bowl. I also let the strawberries sit out for about 1 to 2 hours so that way they can come to room temperature. Now let's add the ingredients. Alright, I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. And I'm going to just give this a quick stir. Now you're going to stir this for about 3 to 4 minutes. Now as you are stirring these strawberries, you'll notice that at the bottom the strawberries are starting to release their juices. Alright, and as you can see, the strawberries have released a lot of juices. That's exactly what we're looking for. If you have a mesh strainer, I'm going to squeeze 1/2 lemon right on in there. About 1 tablespoon of lemon juice will do. Next I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick stir. Just make sure you stir it really well until the cornstarch has dissolved into the strawberry mixture. Looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and lightly flour the surface of my table. Now I'm going to add the dough on top of the table. Just try to form it into a round circle as best as you can. And just take a knife and just cut it in half. So that way you have 2 halves, you have one for the bottom crust and one for the top crust. So we're gonna first start off with the bottom crust. Just form this into a ball. Bring this together first. Now you're gonna press it down, press the dough down to form a flat circle. Or if you could form a square, you could do that as well. Doesn't really matter. I'm gonna take my rolling pin. I'm gonna just roll this out. Now you're gonna roll this out into a 14-inch wide by 17-inch long rectangle. All right, there we go. It's perfect. I'm gonna just take my rolling pin and place it on the end right here, and I'm gonna just carefully roll the dough onto the rolling pin. And as you're rolling the dough onto the rolling pin, make sure you take some flour and place it onto the back, so that way the flour won't, the dough won't stick onto itself. So let's do it like that. Mission accomplished. All right, now you're gonna take your rolling pin and just place it on one end of the pan. Make sure you flap the crust over onto the end, and just unroll the crust onto the baking pan. Fix this, don't worry about that. Just make sure the crust fits in there. Nice. Alright, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take a knife. I'm gonna just trim off the excess crust while inside the pan. And from there, just press the crust in the bottom. Make sure it comes up the sides just a little bit, not too much. Next up, I'm gonna just take a fork and I'm just gonna poke some holes in the crust. That's gonna prevent it from bubbling up during the baking process. Now I'm gonna set this on the side while we make the top portion of crust. Alright, here's the second half of pie dough. And this pie dough over here comes from the excess that we trimmed off when we added our bottom crust into the baking pan. So I'm gonna just go ahead and combine this with this portion of crust, and I'm just gonna form that together, bring that together. Alright, now I'm gonna lightly flour the surface of my table. Now I'm gonna add the dough on top of the table. Just form this into a flat circle or a square. Do it however way you want to. Just sprinkle some flour on top. Now you're gonna roll this out into a 16-inch long by 12-inch wide rectangle. Do it the best way you can, very gently, okay? Roll the crust up onto the rolling pin, and as you're doing that, just take the flour and just add it onto the crust as you're rolling it up. That's going to prevent it from sticking. And there we go. Alright, now here I have my baking pan with the crust lined at the bottom. Now we're going to add the filling in there. Just make sure you give it one last final quick stir. Make sure all the ingredients together. And from there you could just pour it into the pan. Just pour it right on in there. Just spread that around as evenly as possible. You can also give the pan a quick shake to make sure everything is even. You just take the rolling pin and just roll the crust right on top. You just press that down on in there very carefully. Now I'm going to just take a knife and trim off some of the excess from off the sides. Now if you don't want to do that, you could just take the sides and just fold them over like that and just press it down and you'll be good to go. Alright, next up I'm going to just take my fingers and I'm going to just press the edge onto the inside of the cobbler. Just like that. Don't matter if some of the cobbler seeps out, I'm not worried about that too much. I'm going to just take a fork and I'm just going to poke holes into the top of the cobbler. That'll allow some of the steam to escape during the baking process. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375 degrees. Alright, here I have one large egg at room temperature. I'm going to just take a fork and just whisk that together. Alright, now I'm going to just take a pastry brush and I'm just going to lightly brush off the top portion of the crust with the egg mixture. You could lightly sprinkle some sugar on top, just very, very light. Now it is ready to be baked. Now I'm going to place this into a preheated 375 degree oven on the bottom rack. Bake this for 40 minutes. Alright, it's been about 40 minutes now for our strawberry cobbler. Now let's go ahead and remove this out of the oven. Let the cobbler cool until it's warm, or you can just let it cool completely. For best results, you can serve this the very next day so that way the flavors can settle and increase overnight. Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. Woo. It has a wonderful, flavorful strawberry flavor. It's not too sweet at all. It's just the right amount of sweetness, slightly tart, and the strawberries melt in your mouth, and that top and that bottom crust. Y'all, this is absolutely refreshing and delicious. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. Now I have an official website for all of my recipes, including this fabulous homemade strawberry cobbler recipe. You can go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. So until next time, take care, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.